and welcome to the Raven's Nest. In the overture to this program, I suggested that power is the context for which humanity must place within all present-day changes and events. I also asserted that humanity on the whole has lost its power because humanity seems to no longer possess the knowledge and understanding necessary for generating and wielding power. As evidence of this claim, I pointed at the public discourse of our time and suggested that it is clear that some unanswered questions regarding the nature of power are at the center of the present global conversation concerning the fate of humanity. Questions like, what is power? Where is power? How is power obtained? And why is power necessary? Regardless of context or content, all human discourse emerges and evolves because of a diversity of perspective, belief, and individual experience. If that diversity did not exist, human beings would have nothing to discuss, and there would be no need to establish any context for life. And so it is with any discourse. Our present-day conversation regarding power exists because of a diversity of perspectives concerning the nature of human power. At this very moment in history, humanity is witnessing a live theatrical play for which the nature of power is not only at the center of the storyline, but is also the main point of contention between the drama's primary protagonists and antagonists. In other words, the nature of power is not only the point of the drama presently playing out on the global stage of humanity, it also acts as the central plot device employed by the playwright to create the tension all good dramas require to move the story along, as well as capture and hold the audience's attention. One scene presently playing out in this live reality play is the ongoing coup d'etat that began in the United States in December of 2016. What we see on stage is an entrenched, unelected administrative or so-called deep state attempting to remove a U.S. president they don't particularly care for by means of malice, intrigue, and political chicanery. Although the stakes of this coup are high, in reality it is still just a single scene within a single act of a grand play that chronicles the history of the cosmos and humanity's role as both prize and pawn in a cosmic war between spiritual forces for which humanity on the whole has at best a distorted and diluted understanding and at worst a complete loss of awareness. This single scene in which a battle between obviously dark forces and what at first glance appears to be a true champion of the people needs to be placed in its proper context so that the audience may understand that this scene is in part designed to point towards something larger. In this case, that which is presently transpiring on Earth points to a much larger power struggle taking place well beyond the confines of the Earth. We are witnessing a coup here on Earth because it is a coup that this grand cosmic play began with in its opening scene. This epic struggle for power and control was triggered by the divine creation of the Adapa and is the source of all contention and conflict presently manifesting within current human affairs.
Oh my God. So much Jefferson Square Park.
This cosmic coup in its entirety makes John Brennan's and James Comey's coup against Donald Trump look like a kindergarten recess spat over a broken toy. To understand the nature, scale, and complexity of such a cosmic struggle for power, one must possess certain knowledge, training, and real-world experience in realms of human affairs that take place just below the surface of the everyday life that represents the norms for a vast majority of our present global population. Activities that are conducted behind a finely constructed but very thin veil of illusion. However, over the last decade, there has been a certain awakening by a small minority across the globe to a long-standing reality that there are, in fact, within the physical domains of human life here on Earth, two very separate and distinct worlds. There is a world of presentation, and there is a world of concealment. The world of presentation is where scenes such as the one playing out currently in the United States are scripted, pre-produced, and played out on the global stage. One of many objectives served by such theatrical presentations is to avert the general population's attention from the world of concealment. In other words, the drama playing out between Donald John Trump and his enemies, where possession of the White House, as well as the fate of a country and possibly the world lay in the balance, serves in part to distract the global population from events and activities that go on and have for millennia in a very real and material world of human affairs that exists and operates just below the surface of the accepted consensus views of reality that form the majority collective perspective of life. Concerning the formation of consensus views of reality and collective perspectives, we all have our own individual set of perspectives concerning the world as well as on life and living. By and large, we also all have individualized perspective concerning humanity as a whole. These perspectives together form our individual views, or how we see the world along with ourselves and everyone else in it. Since human beings at their core are social animals, we tend to seek out and associate ourselves with others of similar views and perspectives. And when we find others of like mind, we tend towards forming cooperative relationships with them. This basic instinctual drive within human beings is what directs us towards forming organized, civilized, and cooperative communities. This is simply in our nature, in spite of its juxtaposition with our individual and innate imperative to seek independence, freedom, and liberty. When individuals come together and form cooperative relations, collectives are formed. And out of these collectives are born a collective view and a set of perspectives that are entirely new and unique to the newly formed collective. It should be noted here that what is being described is not in of itself collectivism, socialism, or even communism. The assertion is simply this: there are individual views as well as collective views, and that a collective view is simply a synthetic product of individual views mixed together. The concept of a synthetic collective view is very old and is referred to in many ways throughout human literature and history. One of today's more commonly used terms to describe this social construct is consensus view of reality. An even more common term is conventional wisdom. It is a consensus in that the view being referred to is agreed upon and adopted by a collective of some size and form. The specific view being referred to is that of a reality. It is today's conventional wisdom or consensus view of reality that Donald Trump is attacking in his role as the disruptor or bringer of chaos in a drama for which there still remains a few more scenes to play out within the final act of a much larger power struggle that draws near to its final curtain. To achieve a sense of scale, complexity, and overall story arc upon which this cosmic drama now plays out, and to become aware of and acknowledge that an entirely separate and distinct material world can exist without the majority of the global population detecting it, one must first understand three key dynamics of the warfare being waged against humanity at this present moment in time. These three dynamics are: 1. The nature of the warfare is not entirely physical. 2. The primary campaign strategy employed by the enemy against humanity is one of distraction, delusion, and traumatization. And finally, the primary battlefield is the totality of the holistic human spirit, psyche, and soul. Another example of the scale and complexity of the psycho-spiritual war currently raging against humanity is a simple yet ominous strategic question that confronts humanity's enemies. That question is this: how does one convince 8 billion human beings to reject the only material reality they have ever known for an entirely non-material reality they have never known? The answer to this simple question, arrived at by the enemies of humanity, is equally as simple, albeit far more sinister and evil in its execution. The answer is simply this: convince humanity that the only material world they have ever known will be suddenly and completely destroyed by external forces beyond human control. Of course, the next obvious question in this logic sequence is: how does one convince 8 billion people that the material world is facing imminent destruction? In addressing these questions, two very simple solutions present almost immediately to the trained eye of a macro systems analyst. 1. Employ destructive methods of governance, production, trade, and consumerism that over time damages, degrades, and destroys the physical environment. 2. Deploy a mechanism that captures, manipulates, and controls both individual and collective views of reality. Tactically speaking, it is full spectrum dominance of the battlefield that the enemy has both sought and captured. In real terms, what has been captured is control of the processes by which human beings form their perspectives and views of reality, both as individuals and as communities forming synthetic consensus views. It must be noted at this juncture that capturing power and control over global consensus views of reality and creating hidden worlds of power and lucre without anybody noticing does not occur overnight. Achieving full spectrum dominance of a battlefield that is shifting from the material world to a world of virtual reality takes decades and requires both comprehensive planning rooted in centuries of foresight and a set of weapons systems designed to subvert, distort, dilute, and delude the very psycho-spiritual nature of the human being and the way of life humanity is designed to conduct within its cosmic context of purpose. In other words, humanity is under assault on four major fronts: political, economic, cultural, and religious, as these represent the four primary operating domains of human life on Earth. The powers and principalities prosecuting this psycho-spiritual warfare upon humanity are beings and entities that are not always entirely human or human at all. Nonetheless, they are all very real and wield devastating and destructive forms of power and control right here on Earth. The stakes in this cosmic war could not be higher, and are expressed by the present philosophical question posed to humanity by humanity's own enemy. Here I will allow an agent of the enemy to present this very important philosophical question.
Humans. That's what we are, right? How could we possibly imagine ourselves as anything else? We've experienced the world through these bodies for our entire lives, but for all we know, we might wake up one day and not even recognize ourselves in the mirror. It's guaranteed by evolution that if what we today call human beings stick around long enough, they're going to disappear, one way or another. The big question is who, or what, will replace us. Maybe new beings will take our place. Beings of pure mind and pure computational abstraction. They certainly won't be human, but might be created by them. Maybe they themselves were once human brains, scanned into computers, uploaded to the cloud, and now flying around in the ether. Maybe these things will be our children. In fact, maybe they'll be us. Maybe they'll be post-human. Posthumanism is a philosophical idea that questions whether or not our so-called humanity is innate. Is our humanity real, or just a construct of the mind? Is there some fundamental essence that makes us human? Or are we really no different from anything else?
The Cosmic Coup Project seeks to enter and engage in the debate concerning this very crucial and prescient question that lay before us all. A primary objective of the project is to act as a principal power and agent against all other powers and agents, human or otherwise, that seek to centralize and monopolize human power for the purpose of oppressing human beings, whether individuals or cooperative collectives that organize themselves according to the natural laws and principles of nature, creation, and the Creator. This objective is one of immense weight, complexity, and nuance, and carries with it the potential for serious, life-altering consequences. Nonetheless, it is an objective that I personally take very serious. So much so that I am willing to sacrifice both my hard-earned treasure as well as my very life to support, defend, and protect the principles that stand behind this and other project objectives. But who am I that I would be willing to do such a thing? Some have already asked this question. The only answer I can at this present moment offer remains this. All that I am doing now, along with all that I will do in the future, has nothing to do with me. It is simply the will of my Creator, as I presently understand it through the prayerful seeking of a knowledge of that will and a power to carry it out, regardless of any consequences to myself, either in body or spirit. I seek no fame in the world, no fortunes of treasures that I can hoard, and certainly no accolades from followers of any kind, whether noble devotees or sycophant slaves and vampires. There are already too many false prophets claiming the end is near, and delusional messiah types preaching the salvation of subservience to centralized technological systems of power and control. I feel wholly disqualified to ascertain any idea about who I am. I leave that to my Creator and any others who might foolishly deem themselves qualified to judge. However, I do feel more than adequately qualified to assess what I am. And that is, I am one of the few who have passed through that finely constructed veil that separates the world that is seen from the world that is not seen. And in this, I do not mean that I passed through from the world that is seen to the world that is unseen and then back again. No, I mean to say something of far greater significance and power. I was born into and for the dark purposes of the unseen world, and have only recently passed through that veil into the world of presentation. That world of manufactured realities and consensus views concerning them, and this world that is seen through the eyes of those I simply refer to as the average Johns and Janes who just seek to live free, raise their families in relative peace, and enjoy the fruits of their labors, regardless of where on the planet they live, or what type of rule of authority they choose to subject themselves to. Be certain that from whatever side of any mask I may wear, I am not one of the good folks who have lived their lives according to the rules of the known and visible world of manufactured reality. Again, I do not originate from that world, therefore it is a world entirely foreign to me. But any struggles I have had or may continue to have in learning to live in a foreign land, a land not of my birth or of my indoctrinations, are irrelevant to why I am here. I am simply an instrument of power, finely tuned to and focused upon the nature and direction of power. And like any other instrument of power, I am equally capable of meting out both creation and destruction. As for any outcomes born out of either my present or future actions, either as an individual or as part of a collective, such as the Cosmic Coup Project, I am powerless. Whether or not anyone awakens to all that surrounds them is an outcome that lay far beyond any human power or control. I am not here to engage in the directing of outcomes. I am a very powerful being, but I do not, nor will I ever in my present form, wield that kind of power. And this is a good thing for all of humanity. I merely seek to become a naturally restorative force within humanity, and the mechanism by which I am able to transform myself into that force is the Cosmic Coup Project. Finally, it is easily recognized that the outcomes of the U.S. presidential election, 2 U.S. Senate seats headed for runoff elections in January of 2021, will be outcomes artificially manufactured by forces aligned against humanity. No matter the outcomes of such scenes, the final act has already been written and is entirely knowable by anyone who cares to look. Yes, the original script to this cosmic drama has been hidden and even corrupted over the millennia. But if one is willing to momentarily set aside long-standing preconceived ideas, beliefs, traditions, and perspectives regarding humanity, its origins, and its purpose, as a principal character of the story, the original script will reveal itself. It is upon that script the Cosmic Coup Project sets its course and seeks to respond to the rising tyranny and oppression of our time. In closing this episode, allow for a moment, if you will, my ego to indulge itself concerning its identity as Raven by posing the following question. If I am what I say I am, then what insights into that unseen world might I have to offer you? And can those insights prove valuable to you in your journey into what comes next? Until next time, this is Raven, signing off.